If you have ever looked at your savings account and wondered whether that money could be doing more for you, you are not alone. Millions of people reach a point where they realize that simply parking cash in a savings account, while safe, is not enough to build real long-term wealth. Savings accounts are important, but they typically earn very little interest, often not even enough to keep pace with inflation. This means that money sitting untouched in a savings account can actually lose purchasing power over time. Investing, on the other hand, gives your money the opportunity to grow at a much faster rate, though it does come with a different set of considerations. Today, we are going to walk through exactly how a beginner can take their savings and turn them into a thoughtful, structured investment plan. Before we even talk about stocks, funds, or investment accounts, the very first step is making sure your financial foundation is solid. This means having an emergency fund set aside before you start investing any significant amount of money. An emergency fund is simply a stash of cash kept in an easily accessible account that can cover unexpected expenses like a medical bill, a car repair, or a sudden loss of income. Most financial experts suggest having somewhere between 3 and 6 months worth of essential living expenses saved up before you start putting money into investments. The reason this step matters so much is that investments can lose value in the short term, and if you are forced to sell your investments during a downturn just to cover an emergency, you could end up locking in losses that you did not need to take. Having that safety net in place means your invested money can stay invested, riding out the ups and downs of the market without you needing to touch it. Once your emergency fund is in place, the next step is looking at any high-interest debt you might be carrying. Credit card debt in particular often carries interest rates that are far higher than what you could realistically expect to earn from investing. If you are paying 20% interest on a credit card balance, no investment strategy is going to reliably beat that rate of return. This is why it generally makes sense to pay down high-interest debt before diverting extra money into investments. Think of paying off high-interest debt as a guaranteed return on your money, since every dollar you put toward that balance is a dollar you are no longer losing to interest charges. Once those high-interest debts are cleared, you're in a much stronger position to start building wealth through investing, rather than working against yourself. With your emergency fund secured and your high-interest debt under control, it is time to start thinking about your investment goals. This is a step that many beginners skip, but it is one of the most important parts of the entire process. Ask yourself what you are actually investing for. Are you saving for retirement that might be 30 or 40 years away? Are you hoping to buy a home in the next 5 years? Are you building a fund for your children's education? Each of these goals has a different time horizon, and that time horizon should heavily influence how you invest your money. Money that you need in the next year or two generally should not be invested in anything volatile, because you do not want to be forced to sell during a market downturn. Money that you will not need for decades, on the other hand, can typically handle more risk, since you have plenty of time to recover from any short-term dips in value. This brings us to one of the most fundamental concepts in investing, which is risk tolerance. Risk tolerance refers to how comfortable you are with the possibility of your investments losing value in the short term, in exchange for the potential of higher returns over the long term. Some people can watch their portfolio drop significantly and remain calm, confident that it will recover over time. Others feel anxious and want to sell the moment they see red numbers on their screen. Neither response is wrong, but understanding your own personality when it comes to risk is crucial, because it will help you choose investments that you can actually stick with during turbulent times. A portfolio that keeps you up at night with worry is not a good portfolio for you, even if it has strong historical returns, because you are more likely to make emotional decisions and sell at the worst possible time. Now let's talk about where your money can actually go once you decide to start investing. One of the first decisions beginners face is choosing the right type of account. If your goal is retirement, tax-advantaged retirement accounts are often one of the smartest places to start, since they offer benefits like tax-deferred growth or tax-free withdrawals depending on the type of account. Many employers also offer retirement plans with matching contributions, and if that is available to you, contributing enough to get the full match is often described as receiving free money, since your employer is essentially adding extra funds to your account simply for participating. Beyond retirement accounts, there are also standard brokerage accounts, which offer more flexibility since the money is not locked away until retirement age, though they typically do not come with the same tax advantages. Once you have chosen the right type of account for your goals, the next question becomes what to actually invest in. For beginners, one of the most commonly recommended starting points is index funds or exchange-traded funds. These are investment vehicles that pool money from many investors to buy a broad basket of stocks or bonds, rather than putting all your money into a single company. The advantage of this approach is diversification, which simply means spreading your money across many different investments so that the poor performance of any single company does not devastate your entire portfolio. Index funds in particular are designed to track the performance of a specific market index, and they tend to have very low fees compared to actively managed funds, which can make a meaningful difference in your returns over many years. Diversification is a concept worth spending a little extra time on because it is one of the core principles that separates thoughtful investing from simply gambling on individual stocks. Instead of trying to guess which single company will perform the best, a diversified portfolio spreads risk across many different companies, industries, and even asset classes like stocks and bonds. This does not eliminate risk entirely, since the overall market can still decline, but it does protect you from the kind of catastrophic loss that can happen if you put all your savings into one company that unexpectedly struggles. As a beginner, building a diversified portfolio through funds rather than picking individual stocks is often a more manageable and less stressful way to get started. Another concept that beginners should understand is dollar cost averaging. This simply means investing a fixed amount of money at regular intervals, regardless of what the market is doing at that moment. Instead of trying to time the market and guess when prices are at their lowest, which is notoriously difficult even for professional investors, dollar cost averaging takes the emotion and guesswork out of the process. Some months you will buy when prices are higher, and other months you will buy when prices are lower. But over time, this approach tends to smooth out the impact of market volatility. Setting up automatic contributions from your paycheck or bank account into your investment account is a simple way to put this strategy into practice without having to think about it every single month. As your investments begin to grow, you will start to see the power of compound growth at work. Compound growth happens when the returns you earn on your investments begin generating their own returns, creating a snowball effect over time. This is why starting early, even with small amounts, can make such a significant difference in your long-term outcomes. A person who starts investing modest amounts in their 20s can often end up with significantly more wealth by retirement than someone who waits until their 40s to start, even if the later starter eventually invests larger amounts each month. Time in the market tends to matter more than trying to perfectly time your entry point, which is another reason beginners should not feel pressured to wait for the perfect moment to start investing. It is also worth mentioning the importance of keeping your investment costs low. Fees might seem small on the surface, but over decades, they can quietly eat into a significant portion of your returns. When choosing funds or accounts, pay attention to expense ratios and any account fees, since lower cost options often outperform more expensive ones over the long run, simply because more of your money stays invested and working for you, rather than going toward fees. Finally, one of the most important habits for any beginner investor to develop is patience. Markets go through cycles of ups and downs, and it is completely normal to see your portfolio fluctuate in value from month to month or even year to year. The investors who tend to build the most wealth over time are usually not the ones trying to chase the latest trend or constantly buying and selling based on short-term news. Instead, they are the ones who set a thoughtful plan based on their goals and risk tolerance, invest consistently, and then largely leave their investments alone to grow over years and decades. It is worth remembering that this overview is meant as general education, and everyone's financial situation is different, so considering guidance tailored to your specific circumstances from a qualified financial professional can be a valuable next step. Step as you move forward. Turning your savings into investments does not require you to become a financial expert overnight. It simply requires building a solid foundation with an emergency fund, addressing high-interest debt, clarifying your goals, understanding your comfort with risk, choosing the right accounts, embracing diversification, and then staying consistent over time. With these steps in place, your money can finally start working as hard as you do.